Hi everyone, it's me, Krylios, Team Rayceen Productions MC and producer. And joining me today is Roy Cox, once again here on our channel. Welcome, Roy.
Hey, how you doing? Thanks for having me, guys.
Of course, it's a pleasure. Thanks for being here. Of course, if anyone's been watching our channel, you've seen Roy before. Now we're going to get an even deeper dive into Roy Cox photography. So I love it. I love it. So for new viewers, new people just watching this for the first time, give a little intro about yourself and how you got into photography.
Well, I'm Roy Cox. I am a professional, I would say promotional commercial photographer out of Baltimore. I've spent my entire career here. I just started my 18th year in photography as my full-time job. And I basically specialize in doing campaign photography. Before photography, I was a cinematographer. I worked on television shows and I worked on films and TV commercials. I had a production company, and then I decided to go into a business that I could do more as an individual instead of having to depend on large crews. Having to depend on, I had a partner. I was no longer interested in having a business with a partner. So I decided that I was going to switch gears and take those skills and move it into still photography, and it's worked out great. That was in 2002, and I've been doing it ever since.
Awesome, wonderful. Tell me, do you ever go back to a little I don't know, have you ever, since 2002, have you ever like dabbled back into cinematography or film or anything like that?
Yeah, it's funny because when social media really started becoming a thing, because I would say the first half of my career, there was no such thing as social media. Yeah. The second half, we started getting involved with social media, and I soon realized that people really wanted to see a behind the scenes look at us and how we were doing what we're doing. We have an extensive internship program. I've had over 750 interns complete their hours with me from all different schools in different states. And we started realizing that people were as interested in seeing behind the curtain as they were seeing the finished pictures. So I started doing like behind the scenes videos, which led me to do like small behind the scenes films. Then I started rebuying some of the gear that I used to own so that I could, it allowed me to do production like I used to do in making these kind of behind the scenes films. Yeah. And still enjoy doing production, but just enjoy it, do it for our own, kind of social media viewers and things. And so I still get to mess with it a little bit, but I'll leave that to someone else for now on and let me stick with the stills. So
I love that. I love that. Now, speaking of your photography, you have, really, really amazing clients, famous clients. You have done, you've been working for such a long time. Tell me, what are some of your favorite shoots, some of your favorite scenes, and some of your favorite clients that you've worked with?
First and foremost, I'd have to mention somebody like the amazing Yolanda Adams. She has been coming to me now for maybe about 8 or 9 years. I do most of her shoots now, and it's super flattering. She literally flies all the way from Texas just to shoot with me. I don't even know if I'd do that for me. You know what I mean? But she does. We have Yolanda Adams from Fix My Life. She actually, when she's not filming her show in Atlanta, she comes into the studio and does all her stuff with us, all her promotional stuff that's used across the board. Even her products are sent through my studio to photograph before they're put out for sale. Wow. So we do a little bit of that. And I actually have another guy who was one of my interns that I trained, who's now a full-time product photographer for himself. He works for a company, but we'll bring him back in to assist with some of the product photography. Sometimes I've shot Ray Lewis, I've shot a lot of sports celebrities, and some of those people are amazing and everybody loves the celebrities, but sometimes it's not just the celebrities that are the most fun to talk about. I had a father, for example, whose daughter was born severely deformed. And he's a single dad, and he used to bring her in every year, and we would donate the pictures to photograph her for him So he had this keepsake every year. And sometimes clients like that have as big of an effect on me.
Yes.
In many cases, have even a bigger effect on me than a big celebrity, you know, coming through. Photography has changed my life. It really has. And in doing it, the greatest thing about what I do is I have affected thousands of people's lives with photos. You know, they use my photos to better their businesses, to better their relationships, to better their personal goals. And my hand has touched all of those different things. I
love that.
Yeah. You know, I'll have somebody come in and say, hey, Roy, I saw your picture. It was on top of taxi cab when I was in New York going by, and I was your intern on that shoot in Central Park. Or I was your intern on that shoot, and I was riding the metro, and I turned around and your picture was behind me on the metro wall. I was there that day. I was there. You know, so it's more than just the photographs. I remember where I was. I remember how it felt. You know, there's some pictures I showed you guys where the model was working with horses.
Yes, I was about to ask about that, because I was going to ask if you were having an equine vision at that point in your life, or if that was a specific thing from the clients.
Well, you know, it's weird because we get clients of all different budgets, and some of the clients we deal with, like in that case, it was a women's clothing company that wanted this really high-end, really high-budget shoot done at the New York Equestrian Center. So, of course, it's a long travel. But, you know, I had never worked around horses. When it comes to photography, you can't use any flash lighting around horses.
Ah, wow. Yeah. So then you really had to get the lighting really great. Like that was a challenge, I imagine.
Absolutely. And the model that is on the horse, the only model the models came from an agency called Ford, which is a big deal. You know, they're like
Eileen Ford, yes, definitely.
Absolutely. So these are really top tier models, but to be able to get on the horse and do the shots, she had to have riding experience. So only one of the models was allowed to be on the horse, whereas you'll notice the other model is walking the horse.
Yes.
And the whole time she has food in her hand that you don't notice.
Wow.
That was the only way to keep the horse from grabbing at the $1,000 coat that she's wearing. You know, but like little things while we're lighting these horses, we have to introduce all of our big bounce cards that we use outside. We have to slowly walk them up to the horse so that the horse doesn't wig out. We have to be very aware where everyone's at, because nobody can be behind the horse. You'll get kicked.
Wow.
You know?
Yes.
Yeah. We had
so
to wrap
there's a lot. So there's a lot that you really are considering when it comes into a shoot like that. My goodness. You also have there's one of the pictures here that's mermaid fantasy photo. I
knew you were going to mention that picture.
Of course, that one's spectacular.
That
yes. That one is spectacular.
The funny thing is about that picture, that was the result of a shoot that was basically blown.
And wow.
That gentleman came to me. He had very, very big ambitions. He was basically a guy that would shoot photos. He would do it about 2 times a year, put a lot of money into these photo sessions just so he could have these amazing pictures of himself. So the guy in that photo is my client.
Ah, I see.
The woman in the photo is a hired model that he hired.
Yeah.
But he wanted to be photographed underwater. And the first thing that I told them is, look, this is not Ozark. This is not, meaning you don't have the budget to do underwater, right? Because what people don't realize is it's not a small tank you need to be in. If you want to,
it's a large thing. I've seen RuPaul's Drag Race, those first episode, the dunk tanks and America's Next Top. It's a whole thing. And then to even pose underwater for whomever you're capturing, that's another whole thing.
And it never looks right. It never, because water does weird things to faces. It smears you know.
Yes.
So what he rented without my permission, he went anyway and rented one of those Carnival dunk tanks.
Oh, wow.
Has it sent to my studio. I walk outside. He said, what do you think? It has like this little ass window in it, you know? And I said, no, this is not, you're going to need something the size of a gymnasium to do this. So I said, I'll tell you what we're going to do. Look, I'll tell you what we're going to do. Let's go in the studio. I got a way to fake being underwater. So if you look at that picture, what you're not seeing is the woman is laying on the back of one of my interns who's covered in a black bag.
Oh my God. No, I'm looking at it right now and I
Okay, so
can't tell, but with the knowledge,
now wait a
I'm
minute, it
like,
gets better. It gets better. We have another intern is underneath of her with a fan blowing straight up just for the hair.
oh my God.
He is
Wow.
kneeling on a black covered crate behind her up in the air. He's
Mm-hmm.
kneeling. We have 2 ropes on the dress to bring him up into the air. They're on a pulling system.
Ah.
Okay. Now, here's the best
Wow.
part. She would lay on him because you notice she's laid out, but you
Mm-hmm.
notice that the top of her body is upright like this.
Yes.
She can't hold that position forever. So, what we would do
Ooh.
is we would hold her, and
Mm-hmm.
then on the count of 3, my guy would let her go. She would come up as high as she could like this and then fall into the intern's arms.
Wow.
And I would catch it. But at the same time, when I said 1, 2, 3, he lets her go. They pull the ropes to yank the dress up into the air. The fans are going off. They do the pose, bang. And then later you add the bubbles.
Yes.
You add a little bit of swirling in the dress.
Mm-hmm.
And you have your underwater shot. That's probably one of the most well-known shots I've ever done.
Oh yeah, that is exquisite. And to hear, I am so glad you just explained, to hear the work behind it,
Oh,
to
yeah.
really, really capture that. Wow, that is
Most
exquisite.
underwater photography, most for fashion, is not done underwater. It's done on black backgrounds like that.
Oh,
yeah.
wow. Yeah,
And
that
the
is
photos
good.
that we sent you guys are all there's things that I really that they popped out to me for lots of different reasons. That one was the amount of work that went into it, but also how I was able to create something really special instead of having a disappointed client.
Yeah.
That something didn't work out. I said, don't worry about it. I got you. Let's go in the studio and I'm going to give you something you'll never.
Yes.
He's
still the fantasy's there. The fantasy's there.
That picture is in his home on a canvas, 6 foot. And it's his favorite shot of all times.
I'm sure.
And it's the only shot we ever did from the session.
Wow, I love that. That is good. That is good. Now, and looking at some of the pictures, you realize that you have an eye, for different things, different aesthetics. Like some can be, it's like a very nature aesthetic, while others are giving, like opulent, ballroom, giving very, very that. Tell me about, those kind of shots and setting those up like those, the dynasty looking ones, as well as those nice, clear, simple, great nature shots.
It's all about when we have 2 types of people, those who have an idea beforehand and those who have no idea what they want to do, but they know the kind of vibe that they want.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes somebody will send to Aaron, the studio manager, they'll send inspiration shot and it'll be very urban or it'll be very studio looking. Most of the time people come to me because they want me to just tell them what I want to do. They have the outfits, they have the look they want, and they're like, Roy, make this look like you make this look. I just know what I want to wear, Yeah. So when it comes to setting up the ones that are more elaborate, what we try to find a way to do, and it's a little easier nowadays with technology, it's all about creating those shots and keeping the budget low, We don't want things to get out of control budget-wise because with money, you can do anything, But the average person that comes to me, and this is why the Baltimore Sun put me in that article of if you visit Maryland, Roy Cox is one of the top 10 things to do when you're in Maryland.
You're one of the top 10 things to do.
Literally, there was a Baltimore Sun article that said top 10 it was like over the top things to do when visiting Maryland, and number 1 was get a photo by Roy Cox.
Oh, wow.
It was so good. Yeah. But, really what that article was about is how we try to create this grandeur for people out of a very low budget, out of a very simple thing. And sometimes, though, somebody's talking to me and they'll say, this is what I'm going for. And I realize it's not something elaborate that they need. Sometimes they need to go outside and it needs to be a natural, simple, nature-based shot that's going to work for the vibe they're going for. And sometimes I'm like, no, we're going into the studio. We're going to bring trees from literally dead trees from outside into the studio. And we're going to recreate this icy looking wildlander forest in the studio, and sometimes that's not the vibe we need. So it's all about making the right call, you know.
I love that. I love that. That's really, really great. You know, we actually became aware of you through your client Lori Williams. That's how we actually became aware of you through Fair there. And I do want to say to our viewers that we also have an interview with Lori right here on this channel. Tell me how it is working with Lori.
Lori's unbelievable, because if anybody, like, look up persistence and you will get Lori Williams. She is actually one of the most talented singers that you can come across. She's been carving this living out for herself, but she's a teacher. Lori is a vocal coach and a school teacher, and yet she performs all over the world at the same time. And you know, she's been doing this and coming to the studio for, you know, I mean, her timeline and mine might be a little different, but I know for a fact that she is probably about on her 9th or 10th session with me.
Wow. Wow.
We just did some new pictures for her, and she's just persistent. She's always pushing her brand. She's always developing her brand. And every time she comes to me, she has a different vibe that she's kind of feeling out for herself. And she doesn't care how much older she gets. She doesn't care what's going on in her life. When she walks in my studio, she takes on that Lori Williams blues on, you know, jazz. Vibe. And she is something to see, whether it be singing or whether it be posing in the studio. She's one of the greatest people you could ever watch perform.
I love that.
Yeah, I do is sit back and just click the button.
You know, and I mentioned her spotlight interview and your previous interview because, you know, here at Team Rayceen, we really had to transition to doing so many of these things and online and having to adapt. Tell me how you have had to adapt, you know, with what's going on in 2020 when it comes to, you know, doing your job, you know, doing photo shoots and everything. How has that been for you? And now that we're like further down, you know, than the last time we've spoken to you, how has it changed since then?
Well, you know, obviously we were closed for 2 months. Once we were allowed to go back to work, we took it very seriously being able to go back to work. So we wanted to make sure that we were doing it responsibly, you know. Now, the great thing is coming in to take photos with me is a lot safer than going to the grocery store where there's still 500 people there, you know. I swear some of the places I go, it doesn't really look like COVID's a thing, you know what I mean? But in our studio, it is a thing. And everybody's wearing masks except for the person being photographed. We actually check temperatures now when people come in the door, just as like a extra precaution. We're not allowing large groups in the studio anymore, at least now, you know, during this time period. We ask people that, you know, a lot of times somebody would come in and do photos and they'd want to bring 5, 6, 7 friends with them that really honestly were just there to hang out and kind of have fun. We ask that, you know, if you want to bring someone to the shoot to help you with things, you know, aside from the makeup and that, to keep it to a minimum. Everything is sterilized in between clients the very best that we can. And fortunately, we've all been very blessed in that everybody's remained safe. Everybody's getting the photos that they want, but we're a lot more careful. Of course, we don't hug, and we're huggers, man. We like to hug.
You know? No, I get that. I'm a hugger too. I am a hugger too. So this time has been very strange for me.
And you know, in all fairness, like when I got one of those little temperature guns and somebody walked in the door, I remember when somebody did it to me for the first time, it was a little jarring to kind of have this thing in your face, you know. But people said, I get it. You're a business. You have to be responsible. You know, we have to do our part to make sure that I think, honestly, we can all remain open.
Oh, yeah, you know what I mean? Definitely. 100%.
So we're keeping our studio as sterile as we possibly can. Even the cameras wipe down 4 times a day. Just to keep me from touching and, you know. And I wear a mask the entire time I'm shooting, which, by the way, they still cannot figure out a mask where the camera does not completely fall up. So if you want your pictures in focus, I don't know about that, but, you know, I'm going to wear a mask. But we're doing everything we can, and it's been great, and we could not be busier right now. It's
awesome.
Great.
I love it. I love it. Well, as we approach 2021, what are you looking forward to in 2021?
I think I'm really looking forward to I don't want to say things getting back to normal, because I think our normal is going to change.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I think a lot of things because of COVID are going to change permanently. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I think there will be less touching. I think there will be, you know, we are renovating our studio, which is really cool. And in a year, we actually plan on a year or so, we're planning on moving our entire location just a little further up north, you know, maybe 15 miles away, not to a different state or whatever. But I'm looking to do more personal projects that are like a lot of, for me, you know, because I do find that the busier and busier I get, sometimes the further detached from photography I get, because when I get home, I push it away because it's the last thing I want to do when I get home. And when I realized for myself, it's a bit therapeutic that once a month, we're going to start doing a thing where I take a day a month and I shoot something just for me. I'm going to bring in a makeup artist. I'm going to bring in a model or a non-model, somebody, just a person. And we're going to throw down just so Roy still loves shooting pictures, because just like anything, you can get burned out doing this, you know? And, you know, people, when they come to our studio, their expectations are
high. Yeah, I can imagine.
We run a tight ship there, and the product we put out is very high end. And that's sometimes 2-3 people a day I shoot, you know? And so I think 2021 is to kind of retake stock of everything, do more personal work for myself, spread the schedule out just a little bit more so that there is time for that. And hopefully the rest of the world is kind of normalizing and we're all finding some peace and less scared and less, you know, and I want to start teaching a lot more.
Love that. Love that. Love that.
I don't want to sell anything that I teach, and never wanted to. And I don't think I ever will do that. I think it's going to be for free.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be something where I'm going to start holding classes at the studio in the future when I'm allowed to do those types of things. And maybe have people come in for free who really just want to learn photography.
I love it. I love it. Before I close this out, Roy, share with our viewers your website, how they can get in contact with you, how they can commission work if they need to.
Sure, yeah. Well, obviously, check out this interview and the last one on Team Rayceen. I've been watching you guys, following you guys since we first talked, and watching a lot of your other guests. And there are some fascinating people that you guys get access to. I'm telling
you. Thank you so much, Roy.
It's pretty awesome. But if you want to find out more about us, you can catch us on Instagram, where we try to give a day-to-day look at what's happening. Roy Cox Studio on Instagram, Roy Cox Studio on Facebook, which is pretty much a doubling of the Instagram. And then the website is www.optic.com, or just Google Roy Cox and you will see my face, and come and check us out. Even if you just love photography and you love stuff that's got some good life to it and punch to it, and you want to see a native Baltimorean do good with the camera, come check us out.
I love it. I love it. But I will say I've never actually been to Baltimore, and I've lived in DC for 6 years. I've never actually been to Baltimore until this year, early 2020. I've driven through, like when I was going to New York or something, you know, but I never actually been. And now these past few months, I've been doing a rehearsal for a show, which by the time this interview comes out, I already performed. But and so now I've been there now like every week, like 3 times a week and all of that. So I will say, you know, it's a possibility. I don't. I'm a performer. I'm in that show, the chocolate covered Rocky Horror Picture Show.
You're a performer, and you haven't been through my studio yet for pictures.
Well, we have to. We have to get it together. We have to do it. We have to get together. We have to get it together. I will hold you to that, and you can hold me to that.
Because I'm pretty sure I photographed your partner in crime,
Rayceen.
Yes. A group of people came through, and I'm pretty sure that was Rayceen. Yeah.
Well, I will make my way there. I'll make my way there. You can take my word on that.
Hopefully, we'll see you in there at one point. But I can't thank you guys enough for not only having us on this, but doing what you're doing and allowing people to get insight into these people doing amazing things in Baltimore and DC and all these different places. And you guys are helping to shed a spotlight on that absolutely selflessly. So it's a really cool thing you're doing. And I thank you guys for that.
Thank you. And thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you for sharing your work. You are an inspiration, and we're so glad to have you here on our channel. And to our viewers, thank you for watching.